Meh is the Japanese parenting rule that creates teenagers who can naturally self-regulate their screen time. It means intentional pause or purposeful space, and it's completely different from how we manage screen time in the West. Instead of setting strict time limits, taking devices away, or constantly battling over screen time, Meh takes the opposite approach. And today I'm going to show you the 3-step process to use it with your teenager, starting with understanding why your teen's brain craves more and more screen time. Japanese parents understand that your teen's screen time problem isn't actually about the screens themselves. It's about what's happening in the spaces between screens. When your teen jumps from gaming to social media to YouTube without any pause, they're accidentally training their brain to crave more and more stimulation. That's because every time your teenager uses a screen, their brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter in their brain responsible for motivation. But here's the problem. When they immediately jump to another screen without any break, that dopamine system never gets a chance to recharge. It's like a phone battery that never gets plugged in. It just keeps draining until there's nothing left. This is why your teen spends 3 hours gaming, then immediately grabs their phone to scroll TikTok, then switches to watching YouTube. They're not satisfied because their dopamine system is completely depleted, so their brain keeps demanding more stimulation to try to feel normal again. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that after hours of screen time, your teen seems more irritable, restless, or unable to focus on anything that isn't a screen? That's dopamine depletion in action. Their brain has learned that only high-stimulating activities feel rewarding. So everything else important in life like homework, conversations with family, or even other hobbies feel boring in comparison. To counter this, Japanese parents use Meh, creating intentional pauses in between activities that allow the dopamine system to restore itself. Instead of fighting the screen time directly, they create space for the brain to reset. So when your teen finishes a 2-hour gaming session and immediately reaches for their phone to scroll on social media, you might try saying, "I can see you just finished gaming. Before you jump to your phone, let's try something different. Let's take 5 minutes to just sit quietly or go for a quick walk outside." Notice how your brain feels right now. It probably feels a bit overstimulated. That's normal, but let's give it a chance to settle down. When you start creating pauses using Meh, instead of screen time battles, your teenager begins to notice how different activities affect their brain. Instead of mindlessly jumping from screen to screen, they start thinking, "My brain feels fried right now. Maybe I need a break before I do anything else." For kids these days, they might even use the term brain rot. Essentially, you're helping them develop awareness of their own mental state instead of relying on you to manage their screen time for them. But understanding dopamine depletion alone isn't enough. The second piece that makes Meh effective is replacing screen time restriction with something much more powerful: intentional pause systems. And this is where parents often struggle because you've been conditioned to think that stricter limits create better screen time habits. So you set timers, use parental controls, or say things like, "1 more hour and then you're done." You think you're helping them self-regulate, but you're actually teaching them that screen time management comes from external control, not internal awareness. But the truth is, time-based restrictions don't create lasting self-regulation. In fact, research shows they can actually increase screen time cravings because your teen never learns to recognize their own mental state. They just wait for permission or sneak around the rules. When your teen learns that brief pauses using Meh allow their dopamine to recharge, they actually start to prefer activities that feel genuinely satisfying instead of constantly chasing more stimulation. They're not left wondering, "How much time do I have left?" Instead, they start thinking, "How does my brain feel right now? Do I need a pause, or am I genuinely enjoying this?" A simple way to implement this is to not focus on limiting screen time. Instead, focus on creating intentional transitions between different screen activities. When teens learn that short pauses actually make their screen time more enjoyable, they stop trying to maximize screen time and start embracing quality over quantity. They actually become internally regulated instead of just following external rules. But this only works if you're consistent. Otherwise, it creates confusion. And this confusion is what makes teens sneak screen time or binge when they get the chance, because they're literally trying to figure out what the actual expectation is and whether they can trust that pauses actually help or if it's just another restriction. So before you implement any Meh system, it's important to have a conversation with everyone who manages screen time in your house. This might be your partner, grandparents, or babysitters. You just want to get everyone on the same page about prioritizing intentional pauses over time limits. Because when the adults are consistent about valuing Meh and dopamine restoration, Teens stop hoarding screen time and start developing genuine self-awareness about their mental state. And that's when you see real self-regulation without the constant negotiations. Now, there's one more piece you need to create the breakthrough. Instead of saying you need to put that phone down or you've had enough screen time today, ask, what math skill does my teen need to learn here? This shift in thinking is crucial because instead of fighting the screen time behavior you don't want, you actively teach the awareness skills they're missing by helping them recognize their own overstimulation signals. You can model math by saying, I'm feeling overstimulated too. Do you want to sit quietly together? Then put both devices down and sit in comfortable silence. Or maybe just go for a walk outside. They might respond with, I don't really feel anything, or I'm fine. Then you could say, numbness is actually one of the signals. When we can't feel much of anything, that usually means we're overstimulated. So if your teen is willing to experiment with you, you would help them practice math. You might say, we'll each set our phones down for just 2 minutes. Don't try to do anything productive. We'll just sit here and notice what our brain feels like. Is it racing, craving stimulation? Just notice it without judgment. Remember, math works best when you create the right environment. Japanese families often have a quiet corner with minimal visual stimulation, with maybe just a cushion or a comfortable chair away from screens. If possible, you can also step outside together or sit near a window. Math often connects to natural rhythms, the feeling of the air, the sound of birds, or simply watching clouds move. This helps restore your natural dopamine cycles, and as they start to feel more like themselves, they'll start to see these pauses as relief rather than restriction. So the next time your teen seems stuck scrolling, ask, what math awareness skill do they need help with? That's when they become the teenager who says, I can feel my brain getting overstimulated. I think I need a pause before I do anything else. But even when you understand math and start creating intentional pauses, some teenagers will still be completely unable to self-regulate their screen time. And there's actually a very specific reason why this happens, and it has nothing to do with you as a parent. The truth is, tech companies have designed their products to hijack the same dopamine systems that are responsible for your teen's self-regulation. And I show you exactly how this works in this video on your screen right now. So if you're concerned that your teen is spending too many hours on screens and they can't seem to get it under control, then make sure you check it out, and I'll see you there.